This is an M-rated game, so viewer discretion is advised. Red Dead Redemption. Once again, I was sick and I lost my voice. It's almost back, but my voice gives out from time to time, so sorry about that. I first have to explain where I came from when I played this. I loved Red Dead Redemption 2. It's one of those rare games that I played twice to completion. I love action games with smart writing, which makes you engaged with what you're doing. Quite often when you're playing an action game, it's just mindlessly killing anyone who would stop you, with the most minor setups on why these people would risk their lives to try to kill you. Red Dead Redemption 2's story was so engaging, not just because the characters were interesting to be around, but for the most part, they had real reasons for what they were doing, and there were real motivations for the people to stop us. It was a journey that started with hope and ended in despair with some redemption. And it was fantastic. I even enjoy Red Dead Online. As you can see, I have a few hours into it. And if you know that game, you know there's very little to do in it. The main story isn't great, and you sort of have to make your own fun in the game. But I love the world so much, sometimes I just like to go for a ride to de-stress the day. When Red Dead Redemption was announced to come to the Switch, I was very excited because I heard a lot of people telling me that this game was great. And then I played it, and everything I loved about Red Dead Redemption 2 was just missing. And it felt like a generic action game. Except when you get to the third act, when Dutch shows up. When he did, all the great storytelling I saw in the sequel showed up in that section. While it wasn't long, I loved every part of that section. I wish the whole game had the tone of the third act. If it did, it could have been a great game. However, the way it's set up, it feels like we're just meeting random people who have no reason to help us, and it just never made any sense. That's not to say some of the storylines were not interesting, but they didn't feel real to this world. Now, I'm actually going to go into spoilers in this review, something I normally don't do, mainly because I want to talk about the issues I have with the gameplay and the pacing. If you want to go in unspoiled, jump to the 6:37 mark. I'm going to make a notation on the playback bar as well. Now, this starts out with John Marston on a train going to a town. He's here to hunt down one of his ex-gang members named Bill. He has to do this because his wife and son have been taken by the government until he does this. He finds Bill and gets shot, and he gets saved by Miss McFarland. And in the first act, she's got the most compelling story, and also the most believable. Sure, it's weird that she would pick up some random person who was shot next to a gang base. You would think she'd be in danger of getting killed herself for helping him, but it never really gets brought up. From there, you meet a few random people. A drunk, a grave robber, and a snake oil salesman who you sort of bully into helping you. It never made any sense why these three people would just have any motivation in helping you, other than you hunting them down and killing them. However, it never really seems like they're scared of you, and you're just kind of expecting some lowlifes to help you. It was some very bizarre storytelling. They will eventually get around to helping you after you do quite a few things for them, which again makes me think they're not scared of you. They help you invade the enemy's base, and you get a very boring minigun sequence. People just come running up, ignoring the other dead people around them. Do these enemies have any care about their own lives? Do they really have to run at you like a crazed person knowing that you're going to kill them with one shot? If this was the only time this happened, I would be more okay with it. These minigun sections happen like 3 or 4 more times. Does no one have a family they want to get back to? No, let's go riding head first into a minigun. I had to have killed hundreds of people in these sections alone, and that is nuts. After the bloodbath, you find out that Bill is left for Mexico, and I was losing my mind. Did this game really pull a "your Bill is in another castle"? It just made this whole part of the game pointless. Now I understand they have to give you roadblocks and things for you to get over, but this kind of sucked. The people you help don't even matter in the long run, with the exception of Miss McFarland, so if you cut this chapter out, it really wouldn't affect the story at all. So you have to follow Bill to Mexico, and getting there just starts another way too long section where we're 2 people in a boat and at least 30 people have come there to die. The amount of bodies that have been dropping just to get to one guy is disturbing. Now to be fair, John didn't pick this fight and he was just defending himself. But why was this sequence so dragged out? You get to Mexico and you meet some terrible people and some good ones. You spend more time with the terrible ones though. And I know they're making a statement on politics and the way that people who seize power often corrupts them and they don't really look out for the people that they're helping. And while it is more entertaining than the first act, it still has our character having to go save everyone. I mean, can't this guy just be a tourist? Everything in Mexico seems disjointed. It's just my character being told from time to time that they're looking for Bill and another gang member named Javier, but in the meantime, why don't you help him save the country? And the answer no never really comes up. You will end up finding them and bringing them to justice, and it was a big thud, as killing Bill or Javier had the same weight of killing some random person, due to us not having any real interaction with them at all, until a couple minutes before the final showdown. This this is actually the main problem. Bill and Javier are more talked about than seen. If there was more interactions with them, it would have made their deaths way more impactful. I have the same problem with his wife and child. I know about them as I played Red Dead Redemption 2. However, just going into this game alone, they really don't give us any reason to care about them. And John never really seems like he's in a rush to get back to them. The game would have been way better if they had given us a tutorial with them in it and teach us how to play the game and then them being kidnapped. Then we would have something to go off and actually care about them being taken. If they didn't want to do that, how about flashback missions where we spend time with them? Much like the last part of this game, only less pointless as there's actually a story reason for being with them and not just treading water waiting for something bad to come. Now the government tells him that he actually needs to find the ex-leader of his group before they'll let his family go. I was fully expecting a dragged out section where we have to help 3 random people again, but I was very pleasantly surprised when I experienced a very tightly paced section where we actually spend some time with Dutch, where we get to see his motivations and at times his ruthlessness. And it was great! And it was everything I was hoping this game would be. I loved every part of the third act, and I wish the rest of the game was just as well paced. After you deal with Dutch, you spend some time with your family, and the game just keeps going. They don't give you any reason for this. Sure, it's great that you get to spend some time with your family, but there's no motivation to do this, other than doing some chores. You could feel like the shoe was going to drop at some point, but again, it's just filler until it does. Now, I'm sure there's going to be comments about how Red Dead Redemption 2 ends the same way, and this is both true and not at the same time. There's actually a goal that you're moving to in the epilogue of that game. This just has you doing random things for no set amount of time, and it feels aimless. There are optional missions for you to do as well, so you don't need to stick to the main story, and they were okay. I love that everything was voice acted. I know that sounds like a strange thing to praise it for, but back when this was made, that was not a given for a video game. I do think the fast travel system is way too powerful. I could zip around the map with ease. It got to the point where I didn't even bother riding to places, as it was just easier to set a waypoint and jump there. You could take a stagecoach for a price, but why bother when you could just leave town, make a camp, and fast travel? Now this also comes with the DLC Undead Nightmare, and it was way more entertaining than I expected. The story was actually kind of fun. It had you fighting zombies with limited ammo. You had to go around the map saving towns to get guns and ammo. It was repetitive but fun. Red Dead Redemption was okay. It pales in comparison to the next one in the series. If you're expecting a game of the same quality when it comes to the storytelling and fun, you will be disappointed. You're going to need to check your expectations at the door and just enjoy it as a Western action game. It's currently $49.99, and I would just wait for it to go on sale. I do think me playing the sequel first tainted my feelings for it, and it kind of gave it a high bar to jump over. However, I didn't like the randomness of the people that you meet, since there's no real reason for them to help you, other than the story needed to happen. If you've never played this before, it is worth your time. I would just wait for it to go on sale.